running it up. I'm running it up. These niggas is funny as fuck. I'm needing 100 plus. These niggas just trying to money the motive, a nigga be focused. Most of these niggas be bogus. I'm clocking my chain, still gang. These niggas gon' know this.
All righty. Can you hear me? Test. How close do I have to hold this thing? Can you guys hear me okay? Nope. No. Microphone. All right. Good morning, everybody. I just want to make a quick announcement that more coffee is on the way. I'm getting a lot of faces of like, we're working through our technical difficulties right now. We'll see. But for the room, people in the room, there is more coffee on the way. There's that. Testing. Hello. Testing 1 2. Test. Maybe. Hello. Jelly belly. Hello. Test 1 2 3. Test. Testing 1 2. Testing 1 2. Just go. All right. So welcome to Jelly Belly Factory, everybody. I just want to thank you all for coming here. I love coming to this place because Jelly Bellies. Thank you, Jelly Belly, for hosting us here. I don't know if we have any reps in the room, but thank you. I also want to thank Motorola for being our sponsor for this meeting. And thank you to Paul Troxel, too, for coming to talk with us today. And before we get started on the committee reports, I'd like to get started with swearing in our new members to the board of directors. But before we do that, let's do the Pledge of Allegiance. Do we have a flag? Well, yeah, you got a picture of the flag? Oh. Here, I'll hold it up on my phone. Let's get one going. We're going to work with what we got, people. Let's get the right.
Here, I'll hold it.
Oh, perfect. Okay. All right. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, liberty and justice for all. Resourceful. Thank you. Thank you. So let's go ahead and get started with our introductions for everybody before we start swearing in everybody. Jim, do you want us to still pass around the microphone? All right. Let's start with the American flag bearer over here.
Oh, jeez.
Just introduce yourself, your company, anything you want to give a spiel about if you're with the company, and let's get started.
Matt Higdon. I'm with Solano County Public Safety Communications, managing the shop there in lovely Fairfield, California. So we're local, figured we better show up. And here with the whole shop, so I'll hand it off to them.
Yeah, Daryl from same shop, Solano County Com.
Chris Sales, Infinity Wireless. We are a vendor. We sell, service, and support microwave radio equipment, and we also sell off-grid microwave repeaters and do off-grid solar.
Chris Singh, Infinity Wireless, Sacramento, project manager, microwave engineering.
Don Stabler, Cal Fire Chiefs, and also the Mobile Command Center Expo.
Zach Lopez, I work for Matt.
Michael Proscia with the City and County of San Francisco Department of Technology radio infrastructure team.
Hello, my name is Jonathan Pierce. I'm with City of San Francisco. With Michael, we work together. I'm a senior comms tech over there and run the field.
Good morning, I'm Jackie Barberini from City of Redwood City. I'm the communications supervisor there and your executive council rep.
Good morning, I'm Brenda Bruner, manager of emergency services dispatch with the Alameda County Sheriff's Office and one of your directors.
Good morning. I'm Sherry Speakman here from Solano County, just across the freeway. I'm dispatch supervisor / tech / IT.5, all the above. I wear a lot of hats.
Good morning, Liana Toledo, CalOES Regional Emergency Communications Coordinator.
Good morning, everyone. Mike Beckstrand with CalOES. I'm also a Regional Communications Coordinator out of Reading and your Chapter Vice President.
Carl Grover, City of Roseville IT Department and your President-elect.
Good morning, Yvonne Vasquez, SAC Regional Fire EMS Communications Center. I'm a supervisor.
Good morning, Steve Jordan, SAC Metro Fire Communications Division.
Good morning, Paul Troxel, CalOES 911 Emergency Communications.
Good morning, I'm Shauna Curtis, Administrative Manager with SHASCOM in Shasta County.
Jessica Larmer with SHASCOM, and I'm the Operations Manager.
Morning, Paul Reese with the City of Roseville IT Department.
Susie Rivera, retired, immediate past president.
Good morning, Shelley McMahon. I'm with CalOES Public Safety Communications and also one of your directors.
Good morning. I'm Terrell Harper, City of Stockton IT.
Good morning. I'm Anna Trindad with Stockton Fire. I don't know my last name. I'm your chapter secretary.
Good morning, Larry Smith, City of Stockton, Stockton IT.
Good morning, Linda Biaggi, City of Stockton, IT Department.
Good morning. My name's Barry Driver. I'm from Ventura County, out here to meet you guys. So we have tower top amps. I'm a commercial vendor, and we have everything from some of what your PSAPs might require to tower top amps, lightning suppression, tools to align microwaves with. So maybe we can do some business down the road. Thanks.
Marshall Briggs with Marin County, Senior Communication Technician.
Good morning, Bill Schmay with Tally. Tally's a nationwide distributor of wireless and infrastructure and mobile products, everything from communication towers to antennas to cabling to lightning protection, support applications in public safety, two-way radio, microwave, SCADA, other wireless applications.
I'm going to be really short. Good morning. I'm Dina Humphrey from YOLO Dispatch. I'm the director there.
Good morning, Alex Hager here with EagleView, a high-resolution aerial imagery solution.
Good morning, I'm Shayna Marquez, a lead dispatcher from Tracy Police Department.
Michelle Elmore, Tracy Police Department Dispatch Supervisor and one of your board of directors.
Good morning, my name's Billy Shaw. I'm with Butte County Communications.
Marty Kaler, Butte County Communications.
Morning, I'm John Aurelius, Public Safety Innovation Solutions Architect. We manage your large mobile command centers in the design, build, and maintenance. We have radio system support, and we can add the fact that we can sell trailers now. We became registered with DMV for any size trailer you might want to outfit.
JD Clark, also with PSI.
Good morning. My name is Jamie Johnson. I'm with Motorola Solutions, and I support PSAPs in the Northern California area for their NG911 call handling solutions.
Good morning. Mike Maricini with Motorola. I'm the local Motorola rep. Well, maybe not loco a bit too, but anyhow, the local rep. Happy New Year, everybody. I know it's still under 2 weeks, so I can say that.
Good morning, Ralph Brickley with Motorola Solutions. I'll be your commercial presentation speaker today, and I am not local.
Good morning. My name is Manny Vieira. I'm your CCAM and a member of the Commercial Advisory Council for National APCO.
Jim Lencioni, Placer County Telecommunications, and your chapter PIO.
Viscom. Good morning, Kathy Conley, Vision Communications, two-way radio, sales, service, install, and rentals.
All righty, now we're going to get to the swearing-in section. So I'll hand it over to Susie.
Thank you very much. Will the officers-elect please come to the front? Michelle, Larry, Jackie, Leanna, and Jackie Andrews, who is attending remotely. Okay, you have been duly elected to the office you are about to enter by a vote of the membership of the Northern California chapter of APCO International. By this vote, the quorum has invested in you the power of the association. It bestows on you its confidence and its trust, and places in your hands the duties of your office as written in the Constitution and bylaws of this chapter of APCO International. So please raise your right hands. Do you, under God, under country, and before these witnesses here assembled, each and every one of you hereby accept this power, this responsibility, this confidence, this trust, this establishment of duties, and solemnly swear to uphold, protect, and execute to the best of your ability the aims and objectives of Northern California APCO Chapter, as well as those of APCO International? Okay, I'm going to call each of you by name, and I'm looking for an I do response. All right, Jackie Barberini for the Executive Committee. Leanna Toledo, Sergeant at Arms. Michelle Elmore, Director. And Larry Smith, Director. So be it. By the power of the quorum and acting as installation officer, I pronounce each and every one of you duly established in your office. Ladies and gentlemen, my congratulations and best wishes for a successful, satisfying term.
All right. So now we're going to be getting into committee reports here. Before we get started on that, though, I kind of wanted to raise a couple things to everybody so you're aware of it. First of all, if you're looking at your schedule, one of these pages, there's a QR code right here for the awards banquet coming up in May. Location is still to be determined, but just start nominating your people. I know it's hard in this industry. You know, we're all just like, oh, doing our job. You know, I pulled that kid out of the burning building. It's just part of my job. Like, let's nominate people. Let's celebrate those victories that we've had over the last year. So please nominate your people. Shelley will be speaking on that more later. Just wanted to get that out there. Also, so Leanna's going to be taking charge. You see her walking around with the camera. We're going to be doing this cool thing for the end of the year, basically a end of the year recap. So if you want to, we're going to be doing video testimonials about why you're a member. So if you want to go over there, meet with her during one of the networking breaks, just give a quick, hey, I'm a member because it helps me out with X, Y, and Z, whatever your reason is. And we're going to be using that for end of the year when we're doing our swearing in at the end of the year next year in December, and just kind of putting it on Facebook and, using it as promotional for showing other people, hey, this is why you should become a member. So if you're interested, go see her. And then the last thing that I wanted to bring up is that at the end of the year, also in December, we're trying this new thing. Basically trying to get our attendance numbers up because everybody has problems with attendance after COVID. Everyone wants to be online. I get it. But we are going to be trying to introduce what's the wording I'm looking for? Loyalty program? No, not that. But you get the idea. But basically, every meeting that you attend is going to correspond to an entry into this end of the year raffle. We're going to have first, second, and third place, different prizes. We don't know exactly what those prizes are going to be, but the more you attend, the more entries you get into this raffle. Kind of an exciting way to, reward the participation and, consistently showing up. And you must be present in December to win. So you can't show up to all 11 meetings and then miss the last one. All right, with my stuff out of the way, I'd like to turn it over to Shelley for awards.
Good morning, this is Shelley. As Tristan was saying, on this agenda, we have a QR code. If you scan that, that'll take you to our NAPCO website where you can nominate or elect yourself to be a nominee for an award ceremony. We're looking for submissions all the way through the end of March. That's when it will close. And as Tristan said, we will be having our award ceremony in May 17th, location to be determined. But look for more information on that as it comes available using this QR code or going to the website. All right. Thank you.
All righty, commercial activities. Manny, you ready to go? Get over here.
All of it? Okay. Mine's really easy. Our monthly meetings look like the attendance is incredible. This is what we were hoping for going into 24. As you see on our schedule, we kind of condensed our meetings to locations that were successful in the past and really convenient for everybody to get to. So as you see, we're going to come back here again, I believe in June or July, and a couple times in Tracy, just neutral locations that make it easy. So for the commercial side, thank you very much. I think all but 2 of the meetings are, I have a sponsor. As it was before COVID, we always had 20 or 30 vendors that wanted to be a sponsor. So I broke the meeting time in half. I went back to that this year. If somebody wants the whole meeting, they can have it, but you can just buy into a half a meeting, which is 30 minutes. So please, if you're a vendor and you want a slot, there's only like 5 left or 4 left. So do that. So the really cool stuff, as we keep saying, we're going to have a California State Conference in October starting this year. We're moving away from our vendor showcase, which has been very successful. But as I keep saying, it's time to grow up. We're in a gigantic state, and we've convinced our counterparts in Los Angeles to play with us with this. And so this is a joint venture between CPRA and Northern California NAPCO. The show will be a 3-day event. Actually, it'll be a 4-day event now. Post-training classes all day Monday, training and a vendor exhibit hall for 2 days after that, a gigantic party at the end. So this will all be put out hopefully within the next couple of weeks on the commercial side. So I'll be sending that to the commercial people with registration, sign up, and all that kind of stuff. And for everybody else, we'll probably have sign up sometime late February or so. Jim keeps looking at me like, yeah, right. No, Jim has done all the work for the show, for the computer side and everything. It's been tremendous. Thank you, Jim. So that was the good news. That's my side. It's really cool. Save the date. It'll be, I don't know, what is it? September 31st through October 3rd.
Thank you, Manny. Carl, would you like to speak on programs and all the other plethora of committees you're a part of?
Okay, so first the financial report from December. We started December with a balance of $161,724.34. Various expenses throughout the course of December, $10,809.15. Income was $8,904.40 for an ending balance in December of $159,819.59. In terms of programs, you guys saw the meeting schedule on the back. We still do have some locations that we're working through in terms of exact details. We're going to try to do a better job this year of getting out the locations, the keynotes, the commercial sponsors in advance of the next meeting. So hopefully that'll help prioritize and carve out your time to come to the meetings. Lastly, on the strategic plan committee, we do have an in-progress draft of what we recognize as being accomplished last year and goals for this upcoming year. So that is still in draft mode. We do anticipate at the February meeting reporting out what our specific goals are for 2024. So if you guys have any questions on any of those committees, let me know.
Thank you, Carl. Jackie, would you like to give us a report on the Executive Council and legislative activities?
So on the legislative front, we are revamping our meetings with the Smith Consulting firm to prepare for 911 Goes to Sacramento, April. Our first meeting is this Friday. It'll be a Zoom meeting just to touch base and get everything started. So we'll have more to follow for you guys after our first meeting and how we're going to prepare for that event in April. And that's anything I'm missing on that one. I think that's it. There's a lot of different legislation stuff going on. Nothing that's earth-shattering right now that I can report back on. But if I do get some information, we'll push it out to you guys after our Friday meeting, which is, what is that? Tomorrow. So I wish I had more for you, but we don't. We just started again, and that starts tomorrow. On the Executive Council front, there are two policy revisions that the National APCO is looking at. The first one is from 2.1, which is the auditing and financial process that National goes through. Today, they are bound by a rule that says every 5 years they're mandated to switch financial institutions that audit them annually and throughout the year. And so they are asking for a change is that there's not a mandate that they have to change firms. So the argument is that the mandate caused them at times to pick a firm that was not a good fit, or maybe it wasn't the best firm to pick because the one that they were currently with was the best choice at the time, but they were mandated to change firms. So they're looking at changing that policy to make it so they can actually stay with the firm that they're at if it's the best firm based on money and the job that they're doing. Another argument was that it's really hard to get the auditors up to speed on all the financial stuff that the organization is doing. And so it's a lot of training, and every 5 years to kind of restart that is a lot of work for their internal financial group. So that's up there. They're going to be discussing that when they meet as an executive team next week. And so I don't really know if there's any pushback. Does anybody have any feedback for them? I'm happy to provide that to them. We had a call last week, and I gave them all the feedback from the board. Doreen is the catalyst. She's their primary financial person. And she meets with a group of executive council members and also reps from agencies, and she discloses all the financial information monthly. So they're pretty much on board with transparency. They're just requesting that if the firm they're with is the best option, that they'd be able to stay with that firm. So that's really the change. Any questions or objections or comments you want brought back to National? No? If you have any and you don't want to say out loud, just come see me and I'm happy to deliver that message for you. The second amendment is in addition to the process for the reps. So you have the executive council group, and then above that is the regional representatives, directors who kind of manage the groups by region. We have two here in the Western region, and wasn't not really a guide for how those folks get elected, other than I can tell you personally what we do is we get pulled out into our groups during the executive council meeting on that Friday before conference, and we vote from our group who our next director will be, board of directors will be. So that was just basically how we did it, and then they got to be board of directors for a couple of years. We really didn't know what their background was. If you didn't know them, if that was their first meeting, you wouldn't know any of that unless you actually had a personal relationship with them or you had a chance to do some research on them. So what they are going to do is try and institute what they do now for folks who are interested in becoming part of the executive team, like first VP. You have to meet a certain minimum requirements, and those are by points. So if you've served on a committee, or if you've been a group leader, or if you've been a chapter president or a member of, within your chapter and a committee or something like that, you get a certain amount of points for each thing that you have participated in, for lack of a better word. they're calling it KSAs, basically, knowledge, skills, and abilities. I presented this to the board at our board of directors meeting last week, and they had a lot of feedback for national. One of the pieces of feedback is it's a KSAs, but there's no real evidence that you build your skills from a committee. So what is this? It is a KSAs, but the stuff that they had listed didn't necessarily link to a knowledge, skill, or ability that we could prove. And the fact that you serve on a committee doesn't necessarily mean that you have really gained any ability to do anything. So communication was a big part of our discussions last year, that the executive council reps need to be communicating with the chapter, things that are going on at the national level. So we asked them to put a piece in there about communication since that was such a hot topic last year. So I don't know what that's going to look like. I did give them that feedback on our call. There's a lot of also categories within that skills and abilities, which is, do you have a degree? How much time, tenure you have as experience in the profession? Are you currently in the profession? So you get different points for each one. If you've been a group leader, you might get 2 points. If you've been a chapter president, you get 5 points. So stuff like that. You have to get a minimum of 15 points in order to run for a board of directors position. You have to file that before the meeting. I think all this stuff is really positive. I think they just need to kind of get it in, just kind of shore it up a little bit. One of the caveats was that if no one met that qualification, that they just put somebody in that position anyway. And that didn't really feel well to me. It didn't sit well with the board. So we requested that they omit that piece from the change and or find a better solution than just letting somebody who doesn't meet the standard that they said is important to be a board member. So we were the only chapter in the Western region to provide them feedback on the call. So they took a lot of feedback from us. Hopefully they're going to take it to their meeting next week and make some changes, or at least we've made our voice be known. And if you have any feedback about that or questions or anything, just let me know. And again, I'm happy to provide that feedback back to national. Okay. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you, Jackie. All righty. Susie, membership and nominations.
We have several new members. Some of those are here today. We have from Butte County Communications Department, a Devin Duggins, Martin Kaler, Billy Shaw, and Matthew Van Gent. We have David Larton from First Contact 911, and we have a Robert Hogue from Sacramento Police Department. For a total of 631 members.
It's hard to give up the mic, I know. All righty, so with that being said, let's go ahead and take another networking break. Let's give it about 5 minutes. So 10:05 we'll reconvene to hear from Motorola. All right, you guys can find your seats. We're gonna go ahead and get started. John, find your seat. All righty, I'd like to give the floor up to Ralph from Motorola.
Thank you. Well, thank you. I don't know where I'm supposed to stand, so I'm just going to pick a spot and anchor there. But no, I appreciate everybody's time this morning and your attention and this opportunity to come talk to you about the Motorola Solutions Solving for Safer platform. What I'm not going to do is bore you to death with PowerPoints. Really, this slide up there is to keep you looking at it and not me for a better presentation. But we're going to rapidly go through some slides and talk about why Motorola Solutions is the only ecosystem end-to-end on the market today that is really applicable and apropos to what you guys are doing on a day-to-day basis. And before I do that, I'd just love to say thank you for what you do. Every one of these presentations, I'd be remiss if I didn't remember the fact that you guys do some amazing hero work. And I think I heard somebody say earlier, you know, don't forget to nominate those people. They might have thought, well, it's just my job to do this, but you know, those guys are heroes. So thank you for what you do and the part you play in that economy. All right, so Motorola Solutions Solving for Safer. I don't know if you know, but Greg Brown, our CEO, rang the Wall Street bell December, and he announced this Solving for Safer initiative. And the reason we're talking about Solving for Safer is not that we're here to present products, we're here to present solutions to challenges that you face on a day-to-day basis. And we're constantly innovating, constantly coming up with new ways to bring an end-to-end ecosystem to bear that solves those problems you see on a day-to-day basis. And this is my only brag post here on the presentation slide thing, but we really are part of 70% of 911 calls, right? We are the leader in global public safety. We've divested ourselves from commercial activities like the old Motorola cell phones. You probably see those every now and then with the Motorola bat wings on them. We sold that back in 2012 to Google. Google sold that to Lenovo. That is not us. We are literally focused on nothing but public safety. So when it comes from LMR to fixed video to 911 call handling to CAD dispatch center software, real-time crime centers, LMR, drones, body-worn, fixed video, ALPR, that's Motorola. We do it all. And we put it all in this concentric circle because your customers and the citizens that you work for really are the center of this. But what's happened in the past is you've had all these divergent and disparate systems that you're trying to patch together and make work. And inevitably what happens is this manufacturer points the finger at that manufacturer, says their problem, not ours, right? And we have these constant battles and challenges. Well, now when we solve for safer, you have one hand to shake and one pane of glass to look to solve the problem. And more importantly, our mission critical infrastructure, and maybe this doesn't apply to every one of you, but it's really important to understand that we are certified with the Department of Homeland Security. We are conformant to the North American Defense Act. We are conformant to FIPS and cybersecurity requirements. And we all know, I'm not sure how many of you in the room are parents, but I as a parent of 2 young daughters, I focus almost as much on their online security as I do their physical security. That's just the reality of where we are in the world today. So everything that we do and talk about is fully integrated with the cybersecurity requirements of 2024. Okay. Now, we also integrate with just about everything on the planet. We have over 5 million fixed video cameras deployed today, and we are the largest North American camera manufacturer in the country. So really important to understand that we are there to meet you from beginning to ending on this journey of public safety. And there's no test today, so don't even try to memorize all of this. But this is just a glimpse of everything that Motorola has been acquiring and building and developing since 2017 to build out this ecosystem that we'd like to call Solving for Safer in public safety. Now, I've been a user of the products I'm going to talk to you about, Avigilon, since 2015. Before I came to work for Motorola, I was a security integrator for 20 years, and I bought into this product back before Motorola purchased it because I believed in the solutions that it brought to us. And then now, as you're probably going to tell before I'm done, I've drank the Kool-Aid. I'm very much a believer in this system, and I believe it is one of the most powerful. But when we talk about fixed video, we talk about command center software, mission critical LMR radios, Now we've brought in drone technology. We've just brought in Rave Mobile Public Safety, which is our panic and mass notification platform. And this 2023, our final acquisition was IP Video, which is a solution for presence detection, vape detection, all sorts of things that matter into this ecosystem. And this is not going to stop. It's going to continue. So when we talk about Motorola as a product and the products we're going to talk about today, please remember that we are not here to sell you products. We're not here to provide you products. We're here to work on a public safety ecosystem that you need from the time that the 911 call is initiated to the time that individual is incarcerated. We are there from every step, from beginning to ending along the way. Okay? And again, this is just a reiteration. Please don't try to remember this, but we are literally cloud-enabled security public safety software from the time that a citizen initiates that 911 call to the time that you're incarcerating that individual. And by the way, what's not talked about very often is now our technology can actually become the instigator of the 911 call. So by the time you start getting those phone calls, you're already situationally aware of what's taking place. And we do that via video analytics and audio analytics, and we're going to talk about that shortly. So we're now able to give you more advanced awareness of what's coming in on those phone calls before you have to try to peel the right information out of people. Now, I'm not sure how many of you have ever been the one that called 911. Last year, mid-year, I was the first responder to a really nasty vehicle accident. And I remember thinking back to that event as I'm dialing 911, I'm panicked. There's an individual in the driver's seat. There's an individual in the passenger seat. Somebody ejected, bleeding, just stuff everywhere. And I'm the only one there. And I'm calling 911, and my adrenaline is through the roof. I don't know what to do. I'm not CPR certified. I'm not a nurse. I'm not trained to do this. I'm scared. So as I'm calling 911, you guys, I've heard a few of you are from dispatch centers in the room here. You know how hard it is to get the right information out of people in that moment in time, right? I just didn't know what to say. I didn't know what to do. They wanted me to climb in the car and do chest compressions. I was terrified. I was like, I'm not doing that. So how important it is for you to be situationally aware of what scenario is taking place before that call comes in. Before you're trying to peel off that individual who doesn't know what to say, if you can see and hear what's happening at that location before that call comes in, how valuable would that be to you? I think the answer is pretty obvious, and that's what we want to try to bring to the table. All right, so in the game of public safety, we like to call it safety reimagined. We are removing this word and calling it solving for safer now, but this is the circle of everything that Motorola does in this public safety ecosystem, right? From license plate recognition to fixed on-prem critical infrastructure and cloud video and access control solutions. We are there, and we meet you in the middle with Command Central Aware, CAD, and of course into decision management, incident management, evidence management, and then of course into your LMR radio platforms, Wave, PTX, push to talk, and everything that goes beyond that. And of course, we don't have enough room here to show the drones and all that other cool stuff that is in place. Drones as first responders, drones as tactical response responders, and all those kind of things. But we're there to talk about how all of this comes together in a dispatch center and in a real-time crime center that makes you solve for safer, smarter, faster, and more connected. Any questions before I jump into the next slide? Great. All right, so we're going to talk about solving for safer, faster with video analytics, video security, and access control. Now, we all know that in the moment of a crisis, whether it's natural disaster or if it is a human-instigated crisis, you need to get there faster, you need to get there smarter, you need to have interoperable connectivity to systems that are in place so that you can do your job well, fast, and efficient. We've learned so many lessons from crisis after crisis after crisis. I remember back in the Sandy Hook shooting, unfortunately, where we learned a critical problem. The problem was that there was a human that had to pick up a phone in the classroom, and she had to call for help, and she had to try to describe what was happening, who was doing it, where they were, where they're going. And by the way, at the same time, that teacher had to try to track where her students are, where the shooter was, and she herself became a shooting victim because she had to stand there and hold a phone and try to report. This was a terrible, terrible crisis, and we learned so many lessons from these. I think we're too slow to adopt change, right? Because it's just a human nature, we don't like change, but we have to start adopting change. We have to start getting smarter, faster, more efficient, more connected in how we respond to crises so that we save lives. We learned this again in 911. And this was the big instigator for the change in LMR, right? In 911, we had this terrible crisis where we had first responders who could not communicate on radios because they were in dead zones inside the Twin Towers. Now we have regulation, thankfully, that requires a 95% success rate of radio communication in high-rise buildings. And we have testing strategies and regulation that allows us to go through each one of those buildings and test that communication process and pathway and ensure it doesn't fail. Because we need to save lives, right? And we could have saved more lives in those events had we had the ability to communicate. So this is why I'm very passionate about solving for safer, smarter, faster, and more connected, because we're here, you're here, every day you go to work, you're trying to save somebody's life. You're trying to keep the public system safer. And so hopefully that's what you get out of this conversation. So in that vein, we are going to talk a little bit about video technology, video analytics, deep learning AI, which everybody's heard that phrase probably too many times in 2024 already. But AI is becoming the thing that allows us to be smarter, faster, more efficient, and more connected. So in today's world, in this idea of public safety, we have video technology now that we utilize all across the country to do just that. For instance, now every one of our cameras that you see here, and by the way, again, I mentioned that we're the largest camera manufacturer in North America. We have over 65 camera models for every solution and every place you could possibly think to put a camera and for a purpose. And we're not here to be Big Brother. We're not here to monitor your every step. We're here to detect anomalous behaviors, get it into your dispatch center as fast as possible, keep people safer, and keep our children safe, really. That's what it comes down to. So every camera that we talk about has analytic chips built into it. So we are now doing deep learning AI in each one of our cameras. And when I say deep learning AI, I mean we're ignoring foliage. We're ignoring cats and coyotes and dogs and the wind blowing the trees and all that kind of stuff we don't care about. We care about human behavior and vehicular behavior. That's what really matters, right? So that's built into our system. We also do classification on objects. Are we looking for a child? How many of you have had to deal with a BOLO or a missing child or a missing elderly report, right? These happen all the time. How fast and how convenient is it to go into a software system and say, I'm looking for the adult male with a blue shirt and black pants, in 2 hours window, search, go, 5 seconds, you have results. Game changer, right? But that's because AI is now ignoring the things that don't matter to us and looking just for the things that do matter. Let's talk about self-learning and abnormal behavior alerts, right? How many times have we had phone calls of, hey, there's a vehicle driving down the wrong road on the highway or the freeway or this road or that road, or they're stalled, there was an accident, there's a vehicle flip, there's a vehicle fire. Now, our cameras can start to detect that stuff automatically, and when I said earlier, be the thing that instigates the alert at the dispatch center, that's what I'm talking about. Before that 911 call comes in, we know these things are happening, and we can alert you to them, we can put eyes on them so that you can see what is taking place before your first responders get there. And this is a game changer for the market. So when we talk about self-learning, abnormal behavior alerts, it's exactly what it is. We can do crowd gathering, firearms detection, license plate recognition, gunshot detection, screams for help, all these kind of things that are the abnormals out there in the world that we wish we could have responded to faster. We have that built right into the technology. Okay? And on top of that, we're faster. We were smarter there. Now we have deep learning AI to make us smarter at our dispatch center, but how long does it take us now to respond to and get to the information we need? Again, with our real-time alerts and automated alerts in your CAD center, your radio talk groups, your central station monitoring, mobile devices, in-vehicle workstations, CAD dispatch center workstations, we can get these real-time alerts to you in almost any fashion that's relevant and just helps you do the job better, right? And we're basing it, again, on classification. We're not alerting you on, you know, the wind blew the tree around and suddenly that created an emotional alert and we're responding to 95% false alarms. This was a legacy problem of systems of the past. It's no longer present in our systems today. We're only alerting on things that actually matter, and I would say it's probably within a 2 to 5% error rate, okay? So 2 out of every 100 alerts you get might, maybe, be bad and wrong or negative, while the other 98 are things you actually need to care about. We make forensic investigations take minutes instead of days. Now, I've been working with law enforcement for 20 years, whether it's the CIA, FBI, local police, county sheriffs, whatever, and I've been involved in cases that have taken days, weeks, and months to try to watch video to scrub out when that vehicle showed up, when that person showed up, when they turned left, when they turned right. It just takes so much human time to do these things. That is the power of artificial intelligence today. So we can now turn that search into minutes. And I'm not sure if anybody remembers the university stabbing, another natural crisis that we had to try to solve that technology could have done better. Does anybody in the room remember how long it took from the time that news story hit to the time they said we have a suspect? Nobody? It was a month and a half. 45 days after 4 people are brutally stabbed to death, did they finally come to a conclusion that they had a suspect. You know how they found the suspect? They watched thousands of hours of video. And they finally made the correlation that at about 3 o'clock in the morning, this white sedan traveled through at a high rate of speed on a road. They just randomly caught this epiphany moment on video after spending thousands of hours, thousands of human days lost. Not lost, it was a noble cause, but could have been done so much quicker. Now they finally make this correlation to the white sedan. They go to DMV, they start looking up all the white sedans that match this make and model. They start touching license plates. They finally come to a conclusion. They find the guy, case closed. But unfortunately that was 2.5 months after the deaths of 4 people. With this forensic investigation tool that we have built into the Motorola ecosystem, 5 minutes, we could have done the same thing. 5 minutes. It's just a game changer, right? And this is why I say so many times that we need to stop being afraid of change, and we need to start looking at change as a way to make us safer, faster, smarter, more connected. And we also have video link sharing, seamless video link sharing, so that now when your guys are operating, you're finding this video, you push a couple buttons, you push that video off to the people that need to see it, and gone are the days of, crap, I didn't have the right video codec, I didn't have the right software to play it, my Windows media player doesn't like it, blah, 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 blah. And we've all been there, we've all seen it. It's a waste of time and effort again. And I'm all about cutting friction, saving time, and making our lives a whole lot better. And part of it is being faster and smarter, okay? So seamless video link sharing is a thing that's incredibly important. And we also want to solve for safer and be more connected. And when I say more connected, again, I brought up the fact that we have all these disparate and divergent systems that just don't play together very well, whether it's the body-worn, in-car, LPR, fixed video, the drones, I don't care what it is. It all needs to connect together and speak and talk and get along and play in the sandbox. So that's what Motorola brings by a public safety eco center. We are an open platform, whether it's our CAD software, our cybersecurity arm, our fixed video, we are there to work with infrastructure you currently have. More importantly, to make sure that the things we're providing you all come together and solve a solution rather than create friction and problems. So our open platform, we integrate with other private party systems. We go direct to CAD video streaming. We also go direct to CAD with our alerts, right? So if I know that there's a video flipped on a highway, video traveling the wrong direction, I've got 50 people, which is happening all the time right now at our airports, congregating on roadways. I'm not waiting for somebody to tell me that's happening. I already know that's happening because it comes right to our dispatch centers, right to our phones, tablets, workstations, etc. We also have video retention, chain of command conformance, and this is an issue, right? How many people are watching and touching this video, downloading the file, and trying to share that amongst each other? And we create chain of command issues, we create legality issues. There's all sorts of regulations and compliance there. If we keep this inside of our ecosystem and with that link sharing of evidence, we can control chain of command, we can control who sees it, what they see. And one of those things that is rarely talked about but highly critical today is what's called privacy masking. I'm sure if you're in a dispatch center or you've worked in law enforcement or any kind of first responder platform with video surveillance, the first thing that the public likes to say is, "Why are you looking at me?" And of course, they're the first ones to pull out their phone and record you every time you show up, right? But be that as it may, they want to know that you have not publicly shared their pictures and their videos or their personal information, or what we call PID, personally identifiable information, to any public source, right? So we control chain of command conformance, and we have video and access control management in a crisis. Now this is something we don't talk about a lot, a phrase I say a lot, but access control integration is not nearly as wow as the things we talk about in video, but so crucial. I'll bring up one more crisis and then I'll stop. And I'm not a sales guy. You can't buy anything from me, so I'm not selling on fear. but we have to learn from things and we have to grow and become smarter and faster. Now, how many remember the Uvalde shooting? Yeah. What a disaster. From beginning to ending, it was a disaster. But one of the things that we could really do better is to unify video and access control. And we do that inside of the Motorola wheelhouse for two really prime reasons. Number one, the word access control means that we're controlling the way in which people access facilities, right? And now we have concealed weapons detection technology. We have visible firearm technology in our cameras. So if somebody has a weapon concealed inside of their body or their clothing, their bags, we can detect where that device is, what type of device it is. If they're brandishing a gun, we can detect on that and we can lock down, we can do public safety notifications, we can do mustering. All of this stuff is happening auto-magically. Because the real breakdown we know is that person that has to hold the phone to try to report what the heck is happening. We need this stuff to connect, interact, and do that job faster, safer, and smarter so we can get people to where they need to go to be safe. More importantly, with the Uvalde experience, is that if the cameras and video systems had been integrated and accessible to command centers through CAD, through mobile command trailers, if that had been accessible and connected, they could have seen where the individual was. They could have been locking doors along the way, creating man traps, getting people out this door while we slow him down or her down over here. And we save lives and we keep people safe by having that hand in glove interaction and integration. I hope that makes sense, right? Because we think access control is just a badge that lets us into our hotel room. Maybe it's the badge that lets us into the corporate room at our corporate office. And that's all fine and dandy. It's very unsexy and very mundane. But when it comes to a crisis, it suddenly becomes pretty incredible. When we can create man traps, we can lock somebody down in an area while we wait for first responders to get there and deal with the situation. That integration with access control that can be handled through dispatch and through command center trailers suddenly becomes pretty sexy, if I can say it that way, right? It becomes pretty amazing. So then we talk about solving for safer in a real-time crime center scenario. These are coming. These are not going away. And they're even coming to the small states, right? I cover 7 western states, Oregon, Washington, Idaho, Montana, Alaska. They're coming to Alaska, for goodness sake, in a state that takes 7 hours to go 20 miles. But they're still coming. And the whole idea of a real-time crime center is not that we can sit there and real-time monitor people, because any first responders in the room have time for that? Nobody does. The issue is, how do we respond to either natural or human-instigated crises in real time with real situational awareness and have real positive net outcomes? Well, that's what a real-time crime center is built to do, okay? So what we do is we talk about a connected community, connected responders, and connected agencies. And why we talk about Motorola being there from beginning to ending is because we are literally there from the 911 call, the call handling, the CAD, the mobile dispatch, the command central aware, which brings in all these third-party systems, geographically tagged cameras and field assets, body-worn, in-car streaming, all the things that matter in a real-time scenario, the drone video feeds coming into this one control software, and then into our evidence library. We have to be able to have communities engaged, right? How important would it be for a dispatch center when you get that BOLO or that lookout for the missing child to say, can you text me a photo of the child? Yes. 5 seconds later, boom, they text. 10 seconds after that, you're importing that into a video system. And 15 seconds after that, you're saying, video system, look for this person on this city cameras. And 30 seconds later, you probably found them. And by the way, all of that's happening in this seamless interaction and being part of the conversation, being part of the evidentiary library, yada, yada, yada. You get where I'm going with this? Like, real-time crime centers are basically the next iteration of your dispatch points, because they take it from something happened to something's happening and let's deal with it right now. Let's figure out what to do right now. Let's find that person right now. Let's stop that crime right now, okay? And then finally, I just want to kind of come to a conclusion here with why use Motorola and what we're calling our Vigilon Unity Video Security Analytics and Access Control Platform. I might have already done that, but there's a couple key reasons why. Is we meet you where you stand, right? And one of the biggest questions that I always get from end users when I start talking about this stuff, they say, yeah, Ralph, that sounds really great, but there's always the but, right? And there's always two things. Well, really one, it's money, right? But what do I do with all the stuff I already have? Well, the good news is we're an open platform. So all the video infrastructure you have already at every street intersection, because how many cameras do you have at every intersection? And by the way, we're already a real-time crime center community. There's cameras everywhere you go. You're on camera right now. So what do you do with all that infrastructure? Great question. We reuse it. We don't have to rip and replace and restart from scratch. We're going to take all that existing video infrastructure, we're going to bring it into the system, we're going to implant our video technology and video analytics over the top of it, and we're going to start working from day one, okay? Of course, we make our video hardware. We control the quality. We control how it works. We control whether or not it does things that we don't want it to do. We have our video management software, our access control, our video integration, and third-party integration. We manufacture this stuff. Our manufacturing plant is in Allen, Texas, where most of our hardware is made, from cameras to everything else, right? We also have our cloud-enabled and cloud systems and solutions. Everybody loves talking about cloud. Just a forewarning, we're not ready for cloud video. There's just too much data, too much happening. But we're there to meet you at the cloud, right? We have full cloud access to these solutions, full cloud integration to CAD. CAD's going cloud, right? And so we have to be able to make that integration happen. We are there. So we meet you where you stand, and we control the manufacturing process, and we are a purpose-built security public safety solution. We are not just a camera company that tries to work in your field. We are literally purpose-built to be hand in glove, side by side with you where you are. This is not a system that we just adopted. We made this to do this job. We are fully integrated with video access control, body-worn, in-car, LPR, drone, and all the above. We make it the easiest to use product on the planet, and I can tell you again, I might have the Motorola bias on me today, but I used this product long before Motorola bought it. I put this in the Oregon Governor's Mansion. It's all still there. All this whiz-bang stuff is happening. You walk up to that building, they know who you are, where you're from, and where you're going before you get to the gate, okay? I believe in this stuff, and I can tell you, without the Motorola bias, this is true. And our support system is bar none the best on the planet. We provide zero cost, 24/7 end user support when you have our platform. This is my sales slide, by the way, if you haven't caught that. It's the sales pitch. So with that, we are, again, North American made. We have a facility up in British Columbia. We base 90% of our manufacturing here in North America. We provide warranties and 24/7 tech support to every one of our customers at zero cost. We don't shove you off to a software support agreement, tech support agreement, say, hey, call back when you paid $95 an hour. We just don't play that game. Okay, we're there to support you in those critical moments, because that is when somebody is on the line. Okay, we're different in that way. So I just want to say thank you again for all of your time and attention today. Hopefully I didn't put too many of you to sleep, and I would love to make sure there's plenty of time for you to ask as many questions as you like. By the way, I have to jet out of here as soon as we're done to catch a flight, so I'm going to leave a stack of my business cards on the podium. More than happy for any of you, as you wish, to contact me. Say, Ralph, something you said was intriguing. Can you come show it to me? Can you come talk about it more in depth? I would love to do that for you. I cover the entire West Coast. I fly almost weekly, so don't worry. I'm going to be in the neighborhood somewhere at some time, and I'm more than happy to come help you out. But with that, is there any questions? Anything that I can answer that I might have skipped over too fast or that you're intrigued in? Yes, sir.
Just on average, just in general, what with the cameras nowadays, what are the bandwidth requirements for those cameras for backhaul to get back to dispatch or wherever it needs to go?
Fantastic question, because many of you are talking about remote radio tower sites with microwave backhaul, and it's a big concern. So Motorola has what's called a HDSM, or high definition stream management technology. Because we're doing the analytics in the camera, a legacy traditional system is going to do a live raw data stream from camera to server. Server parses this information, asks if it should be kept, if it should be rejected, what do we do with it, how do we handle? And that takes a lot of bandwidth. We flip that paradigm, and we say, camera, I want you to do the math, and then only send back to the server what is required and appropriate. So average camera bandwidth on an idle scene might be 0.5 megabit per second. On a very active scene, we're generally 2 to 3 megabits per second. Now, it's probably not going to make a whole lot of sense to half the room, but it's very low. Yes, sir.
Yeah, I guess on that question, like what compression is it? Is that some Motorola proprietary thing, or is it, some other open method?
Yeah, it's all open, right? We're ONVIF compliant, so we're going to use industry standards. It's H.264, H.265 compression, but the real magic there is that the camera is only sending data back to the server compressed when and if it's needed to be sent. So it's not constantly streaming data to the server and letting the server decide, is that a human, is that a vehicle, is that motion, what are we doing? It's happening at the field device, which cuts to a 10% of an average feed off that bandwidth cycle. To put it in perspective for you two gentlemen, a 200 camera platform might take 200 to 300 megabits of live streaming data in real time. That's nothing. Now, that's a lot on an 80 megabit, maybe 50 megabit microwave bandwidth. But again, if you're talking like a radio tower site or an intersection, we might have 4 to 5 megabits coming off that camera back to a central location, right? So it's very low. Anything else I can answer? Yes, sir.
What about like residential use for like people in their homes?
Absolutely.
I mean, I have security cameras, but I'd love to know if somebody was coming up to my house with a knife.
Absolutely. Hey, I've got these in my house. Yeah. So I do that in my home, right? I have it set up as a boundary in my front yard that if it's 2 o'clock in the morning and a human actor is in my yard, I can get alerts. I can also do a central station monitoring alert, right? So kind of like your burglary alarms, your fire alarms, they go to a central station for a human response. You can do the same thing on the video platform so that a human gets a call up of the video. They can see what's happening and transpiring and make a judgment whether we need to respond with law enforcement or first responders, or, man, this was a negative false alarm and let's go on with it, right? But absolutely you can do that, yeah. Anything else? What do they say? A silent room is a sure indicator that you did a really good job or a really bad job. So it's going to be up to you to decide. But thank you so much for your time. I look forward to helping all of you in the future.
Yeah, thank you very much. I will be talking with you about some home security cameras. I have a 2-year-old daughter, and like security is just always on my mind. So let's see what we have. Let's go for a networking break, and I will see you guys back here. There it is, at 11 o'clock. A little bit of a longer networking break, but get to know somebody.
You ready?
Nah.
We're all good bullshitters.
Exactly. That's exactly what we are.
I'm gonna brown nose a little bit.
Okay.
I want to go to Calnina.
Okay.
I really want to go.
You're
again.
approved. Let's do it.
Okay, pay for it.
Okay. We'll figure out a way to do it. Or I'll write the justification.
How many are gonna go this year? Do you know?
Probably 15 or 18.
Okay.
Yeah. I'm
I was debating about doing my stand-up routine up here, but you guys have been too good of a crowd. I don't want to make you all suffer. So before we introduce Paul real quick, I just want to remind everybody of the, why you're a member video essay sort of deal. Talk to Leanne back there during lunch or whenever, and it'd just be a quick couple seconds. Say whatever you want. What's on your heart today, But without further ado, I'd like to introduce Paul Troxel.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Can everybody hear me okay with this mic? Is this mic okay? Susie, for the record, my name is Paul Troxel. I'm the 911 branch manager and the consummate professional representing the state of California. I'm very proud to announce I became a grandfather on Tuesday, my oldest daughter. Thank you, thank you. And we thought, being a good family, you want to have animals grow up with your kids and grandkids. So in our house, we got a new dog last night. So I named him 5 Miles. So every day I could say I walked 5 miles. You're welcome. You're welcome. You know when a joke becomes a dad joke? When it becomes a parent. So welcome again. I'm Paul Troxel. I'm the 911 branch manager. Thank you guys. So remember on those video testimonies, the reason you're a NAPCO member is because of my jokes and my presentations. You're welcome. Here's some of the things I want to talk about today. I did this presentation in LA for the LA PSAP managers meeting a couple days ago. And I really presented in a way where I want it to be interactive. So if there's questions, if we hit a slide and you're like, hey, let's stop. Let's get some Q&A going. Please feel free. I'm here for you. If at the end of this meeting you're like, we need to go into deeper dive on something on this slide or material here, please let us know. Our team can come out and we can set up very specific meetings with you and your folks within your region, your PSAP, whatever you need, we're available. So who here has a AT&T maintained PSAP? They maintain your CPE. Okay. So last summer, we did what we call Tiger Team. And a Tiger Team is a dedicated group of resources that you put to go solve a problem. So AT&T came to us and they said, we have 375 PSAPs around the state. You have next-gen vendors who need to come in and deploy next-gen 911. We know that there's challenges. Every PSAP's a little bit different. You can have Motorola Vesta 7.8 version 3.4 at every PSAP, but everyone's just a little bit different. So what we want to do is we want to go We'll give you a dedicated tech. Region gives us a dedicated tech. Prime Network gives us a dedicated tech. Atos, you manage all of those resources. 60 days, we're going to hit 375 PSAPs. So we did this Tiger team last year, and we did, of the 375, we had about 312 that were successful. We have some PSAPs that have some network issues, some older equipment issues. They're little gremlins that we still need to work out. So fast forward as we're looking, we need to complete this project. Jim, am I killing you by moving around and you having to, okay, darn. As we look at having to complete this project, we said Tiger Team was a great success. So let's build a pre-migration plan. So that's what we're in the process of doing right now. So Atos, our prime network service provider, does everybody understand how the state's network, we briefed this out a lot, but I just want to make sure everybody understands we have a prime network service provider and then a regional network service provider. They're linked together. If one fails, the other can pick up and deliver the 911 traffic. So we have redundancy and diversity built into network. In today's 911 center, you have one 911 trunk coming in that can deliver one 911 call. That trunk gets cut, nobody calls 911. In this plan, we have multiple fiber optic connections when available coming in. One can get cut, the overall health of the network. So they've developed this pre-migration test script. So what we're doing is we're working with each of the vendors. We've given them the test script. Some of the vendors have gone out ahead of the partners to start the testing. And then Atos is going to come in, facilitate the testing on their end and make sure everything works. Once everything works and we know your operational readiness testing has been conducted, you can land the 911 voice call, you can get location, you can transfer that information to CAD. Then we're going to go through this. We're going to transfer between Atos and your region network. We're going to fail those networks over. We're going to test transfers over to your neighboring PSAPs. And we're going to, if that all is successful, we're going to put a green sticker on the front door of your PSAP. And then the carriers are going to start their work in testing and validating and getting ready to cut NG911 into your PSAP. There's a lot of test numbers, or I'm sorry, a lot of transfers at each of your PSAPs. So let's use Solano County as the example. What agencies do you need to transfer to? CHP? San Francisco? Maybe. Yolo County? Maybe. Vacaville? Fairfield? Travis Air Force Base? Do you have any Coast Guard? Okay, Coast Guard. I'm sorry? Vallejo. Okay, let's not forget Vallejo. Sonoma. I'm out of fingers. A lot, right? So when we go to present Next Gen Live at your PSAP, we're only going to give it to you. But we need to make sure all of those other PSAPs can take the transfer. They're not going to get the call live, but there might be a need to transfer the call. So that's the testing that needs to be done. So we're going to make sure that your PSAP has all of those test numbers that you and your team can test each of those transfers. We want to test the ones that we know that you're doing hundreds a month, but you might only transfer one to the Coast Guard, every other month or whatever. Those are the ones we really want you guys to work on testing. And it gives your dispatchers the opportunity to test, what does Next Gen really look like? It's going to be on this line appearance. Who has ACD? Anybody have ACD? Lucky. Life's a little easier in an ACD environment. Yeah? So if you don't have ACD, you're going to have line appearance. So it's going to be different. You'll have legacy ring over here and Next Gen ring over here. So you'll be able to train your dispatchers. What does it look like? Here's how the phone call is going to come in. This is what it's going to look like. How do you transfer? All of that will be done during this pre-migration testing. So what we're doing to prepare for all of this is I've got a team now who's working on a contract to bring in an IT project management team. What we learned during this Tiger team is we had an OES team that did just notifications to the PSAPs and vendors, an OES team that just ran the bridges to make sure everybody was on the call and doing their job, running through the test scripts, 12 bridges a day. And then we had a team managing the schedule. So we scheduled PSAP A on Monday, and on Thursday the previous week they call and said, hey, we have civil unrest, or our fire hydrant broke and we've got water leaking into dispatch. We can't do it. So now we have to uproot that and put them somewhere else in the schedule. We had about 60 OES resources involved in the planning and management of Tiger Team. And that was for 60 days. It was 63 people for 60 days. This plan is going to be the entire calendar year of 2024. We don't have those types of resources. So we're going to contract some of that. And why I'm talking about this is pretty soon you're going to start getting emails. You all know the 911 branch team. Soon there's going to be a vendor count, so at least it looks normal coming to you, but the names may be different. So you're going to get some funny looking names coming at you, asking, we need to migration testing. Here's who's going to be involved. Here's the bridge. We're going to dial in. Here's the resources you need. And here's the test script. We're going to let you see what that looks like. And along the way, we're going to have this project management team facilitate that bridge. They're not going to run it. We're asking the vendors to run it, but we are going to facilitate. We're going to make sure everybody's on the call, everybody's doing what they're supposed to be doing. And then they're going to collect all of that data and then report it back to us, and then get them back out there for pre-migration testing. Once you've been tested and your PSAP has a green sticker on the front door, we want to schedule the OSP, or originating service provider, migration within about 4 weeks. So who remembers when we cut over wireless calls in the state of California back in the day? Anybody working in a PSAP when that happened? You remember how much anxiety there was? Holy crap, we're going to get a wireless 911 call direct. CHP's not screening this. You remember the teams were really scared. And on that day when that transition happened, I'll use Verizon as the example. Verizon's going to cut Folsom Police Department. So 8 o'clock in the morning, 911. Hi, this is Bob from Verizon Wireless. We're doing a test call. Do you have my voice? Yes. What's the address? I show this. Thank you. I'll call right back. And he cross town. 911. Hi, this is Bob, Verizon Wireless. And go through this. Whatever, depending on workload, PSAP, it could be 10 calls, it could be 100 calls. And then all of a sudden he'd call, everything's good. You're live. Click, and he goes away. And then what? And then we have balloons and confetti, and Dick Clark, and the ball is dropping. None of that, right? It was very nondescript. That's exactly what's going to happen in NG911. That's exactly how it goes. We were thinking a little bit different. When we cut Tuolumne, they were thinking a lot different. So we had a crew out there, just in case. And afterwards, the T-Mobile tech goes, okay, you're live. Have a good day. Hung up the phone, and they're like, now what? You're live. Woohoo! And that was it. I came from working in a PSAP, so I understand what that anxiety feels like, it looks like, so I wanted to share that. We get a lot of questions. What happens when I get that NG911 call? Am I getting video and pictures and this? No. The carriers today are not ready for pictures and video at all. Our text is still an end around through 911. So until all of it gets integrated, it's not happening. All of those solutions will be outside of the NG911 network today. Now, we'll be able to get an outside carrier linked into the network to deliver it and all of that, but it won't be native 911. You won't be able to FaceTime 911 like we've been told for many, many years. Any questions so far? Yes, ma'am. Oh, hold on, Brenda. Hold. Please hold caller 5.
So when you talk about the NG911 vendor, are you talking about the region vendor, or are you talking about the actual CPE type vendors that are going to support the NG911 platform?
I'm talking about your region vendor for you, Synergym, and Atos, the prime network service provider. Your CPE provider, AT&T, should be done at this point. They have gone through Tiger Team. They've done all the operational testing for you. Who here has somebody other than AT&T? Carousel, Frontier, Zetron. Okay, so you're going to be a little bit different. But for Brenda, AT&T should have done their job. So everything for CPE is done. So this is just next-gen 911 vendors. If CPE has an issue, they'll let you know so you can open a ticket with your CPE vendor to get that fixed. Did I answer that good enough for you? Okay. Yes, ma'am. Don't yell at me.
So whenever you talk about Tiger Team, I was not on the Tiger Team list. We did not have a date, and it showed that we were false, I think it said, on the list. Are we forgetting about Tiger Team now and just moving to this and waiting to hear from someone?
Do you have AT&T?
Yes.
Okay. How old is your CPE?
We are like at year 10 right now.
Okay, so there may be other issues with your specific center that we need to address afterwards. So we need to get you operational readiness tested, complete the Tiger Team stuff with you and your PSAP to get to this.
So how do I do that? Because like I have vendors that come in and they do their thing, they work, they say, okay, see ya, it tested fine, and then they leave.
Yeah.
Someone else comes in, they do their thing, they leave, we're fine. And then we're in limbo land. We have zero information, no communication. I email Angela, oh, check the dashboard. The dashboard says nothing.
Yeah.
Like we're in like la la land.
So email Angela and say, Paul said, quote, Paul said, I need a status of my PSAP. Yeah. And I'll make sure to reach back to her this afternoon when I get back to the office. Yeah, that Tiger Team dashboard, we'll get to that in a minute. But if you see the dashboard on our website, that is dead. That was only for Tiger Team. We'll be building a new one for this project here. Okay, any other questions? All right. So we're framing up this pre-migration schedule. This IT project management team is going to come in and grab the framework, and they're going to expand on it. They're going to have a schedule. They're going to do notifications. They're going to be tracking. They're going to coordinate our vendors and basically wrangle these wet cats with a great big leaf blower. That's their job. Our plan is to start this about February 12th is our plan. The team's reaching out to those first PSAPs now to give them a heads up. And we're starting to get them notified and scheduled. We are also building a tracker, and we're working to build a dashboard here. And again, after you're pre-migration tested and you're successful, and the dependency here is, like our example back here with Solano, they have 12 to 15 PSAPs that they have to transfer to on a regular basis. So we need to make sure that they're ready before we can get NG911 deployed at her PSAP. If we can't, for whatever reason, let's say Fairfield, for whatever reason, can't be done anytime soon, and it's going to be November before we can even get them ready to test. We have an option. We have a conversation we need to have. If everybody else in her transfer cluster is ready, Fairfield is not, maybe we look at Fairfield and say, for you, we're going to do a 10-digit transfer. And that's a conversation that we'll have offline privately with you and your PSAP partners, because that's a different impact to your workflows now. But our goal is to get everybody ready. So when you get into Brenda's shop, Brenda transfers to what, about 12,000 PSAPs in the Bay Area? I mean, we only have 450 in the state, and you transfer to everybody else. I'm being funny, but you're transferring to a lot. And when you do that, all of the dependencies of everybody else being ready, that's the complication that we've had in this project. And until we got dedicated resources to attack the problem, like we did with Tiger Team, the vendors would go out and they'd say, okay, I did something at this PSAP, so I'm going to back away. So the next gen vendor came in and did something. CPE had to come in and do something. They tested, and 2 weeks later, the next gen vendor's got to come back. And then, well, hang on, 2 weeks later, this guy's got to come back. So we said, let's focus our energies, get everybody in there, do it all together, resources on site to be able to fix the problems that we have. And if the problems can't be fixed, let's figure out a plan, put that on ice for a minute, fix that problem, move to the next problem. So we anticipate this contract to be executed right around the second week of February, and we'll bring that team on. Again, we're pushing this forward, and here's our communication plan. We're going to start a couple weeks ahead with email and telephone. We're telling them to do both on every contact that we have in our PSAP database. So if your management and supervisor team has changed, and you know there may have been a change, contact Janae Dabrowski, who's our PSAP advisory and compliance supervisor, so she can update and confirm your contacts in the PSAP. So we're going to give you an email, we're going to give you a phone call 2 weeks out. We're going to get you prepped, and you're going to get a calendar invite. That's going to be a placeholder for you to remember the appointment. And a couple days before, they're going to call you again and say, don't forget, we have an appointment coming up. And at that point, if a problem arises and you can't meet the appointment, let us know. Now, if you come up and say, we're going to have a baby shower for, Susie, we might want to talk about that. But if you say we have civil unrest and people coming over the gate and fires and everything else, we're going to reprioritize you. This is an important project. We've got to get moving forward. We're also working on developing frequently asked questions. My team has about 8 questions right now. We're asking, if you go back to your PSAPs and your teams are asking good questions, share those with Don Jones and Janae Dabrowski on our team. They're collecting them, and then I'm working with Liana to get these recorded. We want to do like 10 to 15 minute snippets, put them up on our website. So as you guys are sitting there and somebody comes in and says, hey, I have a question about this next gen deployment thing, you can go, let's see if it's an FAQ. If it is, here's the video link, and you can watch it, and it'll be available 24 hours a day. If it's not there, let us know, and if it's a good conversation, we want to create an FAQ, and then we're going to keep this video library going for the year. And then we started some town hall meetings. There was one Monday and Wednesday. We're not doing them next week. The following week, I can't remember what day it is, the 20th or 22nd. And then we have one, I think it's on January 30th. The first town hall we did, we had 153 participants. The second, we had like 103. So a lot of people are paying attention. So it's our intention to start to run regular town halls and just at least an hour conversation. Here's where we are. Here's the update. If you have questions, here's where you can get your answers. I'm going to stop really quick on Next Gen Update. Anybody have any questions about Next Gen Update? Either you're like, oh my God, or I did really good. All right. So one of the challenges that we have in the Next Gen world is your current customer premise equipment or call processing equipment in your PSAP is not NENA i3 compliant. It can't ingest a next-gen 911 call completely. So a couple of years ago, we went out, we rewrote the CPE contract, and we came up with ways to validate i3 compliance in our next-gen 911 lab. And we have a whole bunch of vendors on contract. And as a requirement for them to go out and sell, they have to validate in our lab. Do you meet contract requirements? If yes, here's your sales permit, go out and sell and deploy throughout the state. So Lumen, Atos, and NGA were the first 3 to come out, and they're all certified and available for sale today in the state. We currently have Motorola, Carbine, and Entrado manufacturers. So this is the Motorola, Carbine, and Entrado direct team working in the lab to get certified. And in behind them, we have AT&T as channel partners working with Motorola and Entrado. As the manufacturer gets certified, AT&T will be about a week behind them. Their teams will be certified. Once they're certified in the lab, they'll be made available. Starting next week, we have dedicated teams in the lab to work with all of these vendors through the first week of February. Our goal is to have them complete by the first week of February. If there's somebody hanging out there, we'll continue to dedicate resources to get these guys certified. So next-gen 911 equipment is Cloud CPE. When you purchase it and when it gets installed, we'll be able to take a lot of that peripheral equipment in your back room and get rid of it, plug it direct into your Cloud CPE, and you'll get it all direct from the NG911 network. One of the things we'll talk about here in a minute is the Alley emulation box. There's a little box that we have to install in your back room today to give you location. That's one of the challenges we found in legacy CPE is they could not get NG911 location input on your CPE. So we have a little box that's being deployed, and then all of that location will run through that until you upgrade. And as soon as you upgrade to Cloud CPE, that little box goes away and everything comes in native straight from the 911 network. This slide, I wanted to have a quick conversation. In the state of California, we have 206 PSAPs who have year 7 or older equipment. We stopped tracking after year 11 because it's shocking. There's a lot of old stuff. Now, I will say because of the i3 compliance work that your CPE vendor has had to do, they've come in and they've kind of dusted some stuff off and there's been a little bit of a refresh. So it's not catastrophic yet, but if you know technology, having a server 11 years running in your back room that may have never been turned off could be problematic. So what Janae Dabrowski, her and her team have been directed to do is start in reverse order on this. Go to those PSAPs with old equipment, not pointing anybody out in the room. But we want them to work with you. Find out what you plan. And what we're finding, there's been a huge shift in PSAP management around the state. So the folks who did this last time long retired and they forgot to tell their replacement about what the state does. We've had literally about 20 new PSAP managers when we've reached out and they're like, who? What do you want to sell me? No, we don't want to sell you, we want to give you. Yes, ma'am. Oh, hold on.
I think a lot of us on that list, and I know my agency is one of them right in the middle there, we're ready to switch out our equipment, and then this project began, and it's years in the making. So we're at a place where we can't do anything. So the years are just rolling by. Yeah. I did the last CPE replacement. I would like to do that before I retire so the next person doesn't have to do it. Mm-hmm. But I don't know if that's going to happen at this point. So
if you're ready, we can make it happen.
But you're only giving me 3 choices, and I
Right.
want all of the choices. Yeah. So I need that process sped along so I can have more options so that my comm center gets the best product.
Right. Yeah. So that's our goal now is by February, you'll have all those options.
I hope so.
Yeah. Yeah. That's been a resounding message for a long time. So this contract was signed in 2020, and it was about this time last year that one of those 3 vendors currently in the lab came to us and said, we're interested. And then the other 2 came in 2023 and finally said, we're ready to go. Right. Yeah, we're working hard to get you one. Okay, any questions about CPE and CPE replacement? So one of the challenges that I have on my team currently, the 911 branch is about 20% understaffed. Janae's team has 5 full-time positions, 3 of them are vacant. Janae had done some interviews in August, selected a candidate, and HR said, not good enough. And after about 2 months going back and forth with justifications, HR said, no, you can't hire her. So we had to restart the process. So she just got applications back on that position and is reviewing, getting ready to interview. And then the other 2 vacancies, apps, I think are due next week. So our goal is to get these folks hired, get them trained, and get them out. It'll be perfect timing once we get these new solutions through the lab. They'll be able to go out and make sure your PSAPs are educated and ready to do CPE upgrades. But I leave this in as a placeholder. If you have specific questions about CPE, you can reach out to Heather and Teresa or Janae. Janae's been trying to get them engaged in as much as the conversations as she can. A second ago, I mentioned the alley transition. So this alley box, this conversion box, is extremely important for 2 reasons. One, legacy CPE cannot take next-gen 911 location. We're trying to get everybody pushed over to an NG911 call in your PSAP. When that happens, if we don't have this box in place, you're not going to get location. 2, the technology to support current legacy location is an outdated technology and is no longer supported in the industry. So AT&T and Frontier, both of your alley providers in the state, have come to us and said in December of 2023, we're done supporting. You've got to get it replaced. So those 2 big initiatives have really got us motivated to get these. Right now, we have a majority of the state cut over. We have about 100 PSAPs left to get cut over to this alley emulation service. Some of them have the box installed. They didn't like the way the alley looked, so they cut back. And some of them, for another reason or another, they never cut. Some of the issues that we've known, telltales. In legacy 911, when you get a wireless call, which is about 86-87% of your workload, you do not get a telltale. You get a little thing that says query caller for location. The rest of your calls all come in with a telltale. So if we were to call 911 from this facility on a landline or a VoIP, the dispatcher would say, the call came from this jurisdiction for law, fire, medical, here's who you should transfer it to. Those are the telltales. In next-gen 911, we can't parse that out just for landline and VoIP. It's all or nothing. Telltales are not a part of NG 911. So we've had to, at the request of the PSAPs in California, we had to work with our vendors to come up with a way to answer telltales. Telltales are part of a shapefile. We can only read one shapefile at a time. So initially, when that wireless call comes in, you're going to get a telltale that says, if we were to call from right here, it should go to the local jurisdiction, not CHP. If we get closer to the freeway, it might go to CHP, but the telltale based on the shapefile may report one or the other. So we're working to get all of that cleaned up. One of the other issues that we're finding is when we transfer the call, in legacy, the telltale was static based on the selective router, based on legacy routing, known because routing was very simple. So when your transfer agency got the telltale, it said transferred from this agency. In NextGen, Anytime your call gets transferred, it does a bid. It does a new query. So if your caller is moving, it could have come in and said, this call, law is Solano County, fire is Solano County Fire and AMR, or whatever it is. You transfer because the caller's moving, now it says law is CHP and whatever new fire. So we're trying to get those shape files cleaned up. Greg Pascal from UC Long Beach is working with our team. If you have any questions, he can help answer any questions about the telltales. You can also reach out to our team and we can help loop Greg in to answer your questions. CAD spill. When we started the alley emulation, Next Gen 911, the biggest difference in location, legacy 911 couldn't take everything in a street name. So if you were at 123 North Market Boulevard Road, legacy 911 couldn't take all of that. So they would abbreviate it, 123N Market BLVD RD. Well, in Next Gen, it's unlimited fields. So one of the issues we found with CAD vendors is they had parameters, and we were dumping location and CAD was panicked. The majority of CAD vendors have got this cleaned up. We've got about 4 or 5 vendors that we're still working with, but the majority should have all of that solved. Does anybody still have this issue at all? Okay.
So when we first did our emulation transition or switch over, whatever, we had where the address spilled into our CAD as like a complete address, and the way our street files built, it didn't verify correctly, so it verified for Benicia rather than Dixon. It was a medical call. It was transferred to Benicia for response. They go. In the meantime, the patient called back saying, no, I'm in Dixon. So it was re-verified in CAD correctly. And then we started our fire department to Dixon. But like when people do this transition, they need to be aware of how it's spilling into CAD and how it matches their street file.
Correct.
Because otherwise it's going to be disastrous.
Correct. One of the biggest challenges we have from the 911 branch today, we do not have a relationship with your CAD vendor. We don't have contracts with your CAD vendor. We're not paying for your CAD. They're just a peripheral partner that gets a connection to our CPE. And we've always paid CPE vendor to work with your CAD vendor to make that magic happen. So when this came up, we started calling some of these CAD vendors and they're like, I ain't got no relationship with you. And then we started having talks and going, okay, wait a minute, but we're public safety. We need to work together. The majority of the CAD vendors have been good partners. There's a couple that are still trying to figure this out, but the majority have all have this figured out. So if you're having continued issues, let us know. We will help facilitate the discussions to make sure your CAD vendor understands what they need to do, or your local IT if your local IT is maintaining your CAD. But we believe the majority of this is solved. PS Alley. So do you guys know, do you have a lot of PS Alley customers in your community? You guys, I would imagine you do. So PS Alley is the private switch alley. So that's your college campuses, hospitals, Jelly Belly, people who have local PBX. So they have, in most cases, have a contract like with AT&T. And then AT&T manages their location service here at this campus. When we started this project, we sent notification out to the 700 or 800 PS Alley customers that we know of in California. We work with the Public Utilities Commission and we work with the carriers to start to notice everybody. We've got the majority, I think there's 8 PS Alley customers or known customers that have not been responsive. We just sent a letter on Monday saying that, oh, by the way, if you're not responsive, you're in violation of Raybaum Act and Carey's Law, and we'd be more than happy to share your name with the Public Utilities Commission and the FCC. On my way down this morning, one of those campuses called and left me a voicemail. They want to be a partner. Funny how that happens. So again, this is a known issue. We believe the majority has been taken care of, but you could, after you cut over to this alley emulation, you could get a 911 call from a known campus that comes in without information. Now the benefit is once you identify that, we can get that record corrected and make sure that they understand where to go. We've been messaging them. Atos, the prime network service provider who's in charge of the location database, has been messaging them. It's these campuses. We're finding management has changed. The person who did that has moved on. People haven't been updated. But we're getting that fixed. And then last is no record founds. When we started this project, we had millions of address points that weren't plotting right into location database. The first couple of PSAPs, it was painful for them. Every other call was a no record found. So we worked with Atos. They've been cleaning this up. We think we've got this down to just like several 100,000 NRFs. They're still working it. It's still a work in progress. We understand it. What we're telling folks is if you get an NRF, you put in the trouble ticket, you let us know, we'll make sure the vendor's getting it fixed. They are taking these as priorities and getting those rectified. And again, the point of contact there is Atos. If you have a call that comes in and the location is just bad, I'm calling from 123 Maple Street, but the address record is showing 583 Oak Street. That's your local county coordinator. You submit the location update through them. They'll correct the record with the Atos location database, and whatever their work stream is, usually like 10 days, right, Susie? About 10 days, that record will get updated. Any questions? All right. Yeah, so here, about 100 PSAPs that need to get turned up. We have turned down about 320 network connections, and we started tracking the cost savings. This is an actual cost savings now, turning off legacy and deploying next gen. At the end of this year, this will save us about $750,000. Now in the big scheme, $750,000 is not a lot of money, but it's a start. The next chunk is going to be our selective router and the legacy location database between AT&T and Frontier equates to just over $20 million. So we're hoping by the end of this year we can start to decommission those and start to save on that money as well. And that's really where our big bang is going to come in. And again, if you have an issue with your location service to the alley box, you want to contact your region service provider. So Synergym in the north, NGA 911 in the central, LA is NGA 911, and Lumen is in the southern region. All right. Staffing study. Has anybody heard about this project? Okay. So a couple of years ago, we have a subcommittee that works for the 911 Advisory Board called the Long Range Planning Committee. And we were in a meeting, and one of the Long Range Planning Committee members was just kind of making small talk as we were getting ready for the meeting, and she says, you know, I'm like 35% down in staffing. Somebody else was like, yeah, I'm like 38%. And then CHP said, like, I got 2 people. And it started this conversation. So when the meeting was called officially to order, one of the LRPC members said, you know what would be nice is if the state could help do something. What can you do to help us? So we facilitated a conversation, and after the meeting, Budge Courier and I, we sat down and we said, okay, what can we do? We can't come in and give you $20 million. We have to justify why we give you money. So we said, well, why is it that you don't have staff? Why can't you hire? Why can't you retain people? What's the training gap? As I've been doing these presentations, so far I found 3 PSAPs in the state that are 100% staffed. One of the PSAPs I talked to earlier this summer, I was talking to the manager, and I asked her, I said, what's your secret? And she goes, I don't know. I come in, I talk to my people are happy, we work well together, we're like a family. But that's every PSAP, right? For the most part. So as I was talking to her, she goes, really my staff is upset at me today because I don't have overtime. Oh, okay. So we referred that PSAP to the staffing study group to try to find what's in their DNA. And in LA the other day, I had 2 PSAPs, both 100% staffed. The one PSAP said, we got a new chief a couple years ago. The chief came in and gave all of our leadership a book and said, you're ordered to read this book. When you're done reading this book, we're going to live by those principles. And if you're not going to live by those principles, I'll help you out. Where do you want to go? So they adopted those principles. They start their meetings every week with those principles. What is our mission? And they've embodied this culture. And it's a culture, and they're 100% staffed. The 3rd lowest paid agency in the state is 100% staffed. So this is important information that we're able to share with this group doing the study. 911 Authority is the vendor that was pulled on contract, and they hired Dr. Michelle Lilly, who's with the University of Chicago, or out of Chicago. She's a well-known research scientist in this area of PTSD and wellness, stress and wellness. She has been in the 911 industry for probably close to 20 years now, doing research. So she was super excited to be a part of this. Nationwide, there's been a bunch of studies asking, how do you hire? How do you retain? How do you train? But nobody's put them all together, and nobody has done them to the scale of a statewide like we have. So we had 2 studies come out. One was a line level dispatcher study. We wanted to know from your everyday working dispatcher, what is it like? Give us your experience. And we've got 695 respondents, which is huge. We sent another link out for PSAP management and supervisors. Right now, of the 450 PSAPs that we reached out to, we have 34 that are completed, 28 that were started. Now, statistically, that gives us a statistical perfect sample size, but we want more. So I'm working with the vendor to extend this contract and extend these milestone dates so we can go back out to PSAP management and collect more data. What we're seeing is very valuable, but we want more. We want to be able to get more actionable data for you. Right now, they're due to deliver their draft study to us in February. What I'm asking is if we extended the draft until May and the final product until August, would that be enough time for them to go out and complete these remaining 28 and hopefully gather another 10 or 15? So we're working through that. We have a call this afternoon to hopefully be able to solve that. If that's the case, then this will push out about 3 months. If they need a little bit more time, we can get draft in August and the final product in November. We have enough time in the contract extension to do that. But what we're finding is in the hiring, the recruiting, the retaining, and the training of dispatchers, there's this vicious cycle. I'm hired, I come into a culture where it's tight-knit, it's family, we're excited, we want to make a difference. Oh crap, we're short-staffed. I'm not going to get more training. I'm not going to learn I got to work overtime. And I have to deal with people and their worst. And there's this vicious cycle. So we're getting a lot of that data, a lot of wellness. The study has revealed in looking at some of the early analysis, the average out of 695 respondents, the average respondent is coming in with 2 or 3 stressors before they even plug in. They're dealing with their health issue. They're dealing with a family member with a health issue. They're dealing with divorce. They're dealing with finance. They're dealing with childcare. Whatever. These things add to the stress of the employee. Then they got to come in and plug in and deal with the 911 callers, and then the stress of overtime and shortage and everything else. So we're hoping to put all of this together and give you a tool that you can go back to your management and to your jurisdiction, the local cities, counties, and work with them to make changes and hopefully improve. And then ultimately, we've noticed California, we have a great post partner. They do a great job teaching dispatchers how to do their job, how to do continued professional training, how to maintain those skills. You want to become a supervisor, they have great leadership training. You want to become a manager, they got a great management training. Once you become a manager, Post goes, you're the smartest person in California, you're done. And they teach you no more. So what we're doing is trying to identify that gap and how can we work with Post to train you. Up to that point, you probably have all the leadership training, and then there's continued professional leadership that you can take to maintain that skill. But what does it take to be a manager? How do you stay up with technology? What resources do you have? What is the state available to do to support you? If you have a catastrophic event, who do you call? All of that, that's what we're trying to analyze in the training component of the staffing study. So real quick, any questions? Yes. Just for the record, I'm the guy standing between you and lunch.
It'll be quick. As part of the staffing study, did you guys dive into the impacts that like auto dispatch systems have on the number of dispatchers needed or the workload, so to speak? Or is that kind of part of the next phase after you collect all the data, you look at different solutions and what can be done to help or PSAPs who are short-staffed and whatnot?
So I would think that was phase 2 or phase 3 actually of this. So first, let's identify why we can't hire, retain, and train staff. How do we fix that? And then we know that there's going to be agencies who can't. And I'll use CHP as the example. CHP Golden Gate. Everybody knows CHP does not pay their dispatchers well. And it's not a CHP fault, it's a state of California issue. It is hard for CHP to recruit a glamorous job at CHP Golden Gate for the great low price of $23 or $25 an hour starting, whatever they pay. So how do we take an agency like that and give them technology to fill that gap where they can't hire in a geographic area? Is that moving CHP Golden Gate inland more? You know, it's more affordable to live in the Stockton, Sacramento area. So can we bring them in, still do the job because we can support technology 90 miles away? Are there other technologies that could offset the human to be able to do things? So we are looking at that. We are looking at AI as a non-emergency call answer option. And we have a couple agencies who are actually deploying AI. It's Amazon's bot, but they developed it for public safety, and it's pretty cool right now. San Diego City and San Diego County have started. County has not deployed, the city has. In a very rudimentary deployment, they've seen a 30% drop in non-emergency lines coming to the dispatcher. So there's a big workload being handled by the bot. So we're looking at how can we employ things like that later. Any other questions? This is a placeholder slide. Here are some resources in the branch for the different projects that we have going. Again, these slides are public. Jim has them for a small fee or a renewed membership. He will get those emailed back out. You're welcome, Jim. He will get those emailed back out. You can post them on your website if you'd like. Okay. I will say we do have a new reimbursement coordinator. I do want to point Dylan out. Our previous reimbursement coordinator had an opportunity to get a promotion, and she very excitingly took that promotion. So we backfilled. Dylan has been with us now about 2.5 months. He's jumped in really hard. He's learning the job. He's very responsive. So if you have questions about getting reimbursement, reach out to Dylan and he'll get those questions answered. We will be at CalNENA. I am doing a presentation about what the 911 branch can do for you. I'm here from the state and I'm ready to help. And that will be a part of what we talk about is how do we get your money out to you? And that's it. Any questions? That was it. No tough questions? I'm sorry? I don't remember. I got to reach out to her because I really want to know. Yeah. And so that guy from Motorola had talked about drinking the Kool-Aid. And when she talked about it, I was like, okay, their chief walked in and said, you need to drink this. But she said it was completely different philosophy. Yeah. So I'll try to get that. Yeah.
Any questions?
Who moved my cheese?
All righty, with no questions then, I'd like to thank Paul for coming out and explaining all that. That was great information. Thank you, Paul.
Thank you. Really appreciate it.
I know lunch is here. I'm sorry, but we're going to do the raffle now that you all are paying attention because I don't want to be calling everybody's numbers 5 times in a row. So let's go ahead and get your tickets out. We're going to be doing the raffle here shortly or right now.